Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports. And as you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today I'm going to be coming at y'all with a part two to Ruston versus Stephenville. So we're going to jump straight into it, man. So you see the very first play, once again, Stephenville comes out in the shotgun formation. This was the very first play of the second half, by the way, too. They end up getting the ball back to start the second half. So they come out in the shotgun formation. You see that Ruston has 6 in the box. They have 4 down guys, and then they have 2 linebackers. And then you see Stephenville has 6. They have 6 guys on the line of scrimmage, so numbers are equated. So obviously as an offense, that's what you want. As a defense, that's not necessarily what you want. You want to have more guys in the box than what they can actually block, so you have a free runner. But right here, the numbers were equated. The offensive line just does a good job at being able to block the most dangerous threat on the defensive line, which was number 90, Rakeem Potts. And then the running back just, is able to get to the second level before he's ever even touched. The safety just does a good job at being able to come downhill, squaring them up, and being able to make a tackle for a minimal gain. So right here, we have a gotta have it situation. We got a third down. Now, the game is all about making adjustments, right? And I do like the adjustment that Ruston eventually ended up making it. If you look at it early on in the game, they probably wasn't running as many blitzes. They probably was just trying to rush 4 guys and get pressure with that. And obviously, they weren't consistently able to get pressure with just rushing 4 guys. So they started incorporating blitzes off the edge with the safety. So right here, they blitz number 1 and they blitz number 2. They blitz number 1 from the right side, on the left side, and they blitz number 22 from the right side, and they just able to get pressure on the quarterback to make him have to make a quick decision. So we seen that towards the back end of the first half, and it carried on into the second half. So the quarterback had to get the ball out of his hand pretty quickly right here, much quicker than he may have wanted to, and the receiver just wasn't able to come up with the catch, which led to them eventually having to punt the ball off to Ruston. So on this play right here, you have another guy to have a situation for Ruston. You got a 3rd and 2, so they come out in the I formation, which was interesting because normally that's what Ruston runs a lot of, is the I formation. But in this game, I feel like they ran a lot more shotgun, and they ran a lot of it from the spread. Like even right here with them running from the I formation, you see that they still have the receivers spread it out, which allows for them to be able to pull guys from out the box to try to make the box not as hard to run on in terms of from a number standpoint. So if you look at Stephenville, and for the most part, a lot of the game, they really had light boxes, which was 6-man boxes, right? And you look at Ruston right here in the I formation, you got 5 guys on. Well, it looks like you got 5 guys on the line, and then your 6 guys, your fullback, and that's 6 on 6. So that's numbers equated. For the offense, like I said, that's good. For the defense, you normally want to have 1 man extra than what they can block to try to get a free runner on the running back. But right here, it was a short situation, and obviously, you got certain teams that like to run the tush push in short yardage situation. If you're familiar with Ruston, Ruston loves to do the fullback dive on short yardage situations, which they tried to do early on when they were in the red zone, but they would end up getting stuffed for it. But right here, they're able to get the first down conversion and get the sticks moving. So I would say another downside in this game for Ruston, and another thing that kind of hurt them were the penalties. And for the most part, throughout the course of the season, they haven't really been a very heavily penalized team. But in this game right here, they had a couple penalties. Obviously, they had the penalty that ended up calling a touchdown back, and then they had a penalty in this situation that pushed them back and made it into a 3rd and long. But they were still able to convert. So you see right here, they lined up in a shotgun formation again, spread it out 4 wide. They did a good job at holding up offensive line wise and giving the quarterback enough time to be able to go through his progressions, or to allow the receiver to get open downfield for him to complete it. Once again, you look at Dalen Powell. Like I said, one of the things that about his game that I do like, and you don't really get a chance to see that whenever you're breaking down highlights, but if you actually going through and watching game film, you do get a chance to see just how good he is with his pass protection, being able to step up, just seal off those gaps to be able to give his quarterback enough time to throw the ball. And right here, he does just that. Hartwell does. He does a good job at just being able to thread that thing on the needle, be able to get that thing right there into number 9, Keyshawn Malcolm, to be able to get the sticks moving. So right here on this play right here, this is one of those plays that that you would like to communicate with your quarterback to be like, okay, man, we just can't, if anything, take the sack or throw the ball away or something. We can't afford to turn the ball over, especially on first down. Because if we don't get it on first down, we still got a chance that second down, third down, and depending on how successful we were on second and third down, we might even be in 4-down territory. So the last thing you want to do is take that opportunity away with just, with throwing the ball up and it ended up getting intercepted. So right here, you see Stephenville sends they send a all-out blitz. Obviously, you kind of looking at it, you can tell that they're in a cover 0, meaning that there's no over-the-top safety help. And when you look at the defensive line, when you look at the defensive line, right, you got the four defensive linemen that they run, because it looks like they run a 4-3, or well, four. It looks like they probably run a 4-2-5. They run the nickel package, but you see that they got four down linemen, and then you got the two linebackers. They're creeped up on the line of scrimmage as well. Now sometimes they could drop back into coverage, which I've seen them do that here and there in this game. But right here, they pretty much just send an all-out blitz. And Hartwell, is trying to get rid of the ball quick and just throws it up there, and it unfortunately leads to an interception. And like I say, man, that's just one of those things that you just can't take. You're already down 14-0. You look like you're putting a drive together to be able to go down there and put points up. But pressure gets to you. You just throw that thing up, and now you just take the possibility of points off the board, period. All right, so right here, you got another guy to have a situation for Stephenville. You got a 3rd and long. And once again, man, like I said, man, Ruston did a good job at being able to adjust defensively to be able to generate pressure on the quarterback. They start sending blitzes. So right here, you see that they send number 4. So previously, and I like the way that they were sending the blitzes. It wasn't like they were sending them from predictable aspects. They were sending them from the edge, whether that was with one of the safeties and the other linebacker, and then they were sending them straight up the middle like they do right here with this linebacker. So they send a pressure or a blitzer straight up the middle. The running back steps up to take him. So now the running back isn't going out for a pass. So now the other linebacker, because it looks like his man behind it, if the running back releases and goes out for a pass, he would have picked him up in man coverage. But by him picking up the blitzer, now you have a free defender, which can be used as a QB spy, because we've seen that Stephenville quarterback will roll out the pocket to try to extend plays or even try to, convert the first down with his legs. So now with that, you have a spot to take away the possibility of him running the ball. All right, so right here, you got a guy to have a situation for Ruston. You got a 3rd and 2, 3rd and short. So you see they're lined up in the shotgun formation again. So this time right here, Stephenville actually does have 7 guys in the box, and Ruston only has 6. So you do get a free runner. And if you look at him coming off of the edge on the left side, you did have a free guy. Dalen Powell just did a good job at just being able to squeeze and get up to that next level and hit that hole, get skinny. And when he hit that hole, he was able to get to the next level. And obviously, one of the things that I would say that Stephenville was very good at is tackling, especially in the open space, and minimizing gains. And right here, he was just able to make them miss and be able to just maximize on the yards gained on this play to be able to get the sticks moving for a first down. So right here, you see that it's 3 minutes and 38 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, and the score was still 14-0. So like I was saying, man, Ruston had, I think that they had few opportunities to be able to possibly come out on top of this ball game. They just at times, just didn't do a good job at consistently being able to put together enough plays on from the offensive standpoint to be able to put points up on the board. So right here, you got another guy to have a situation. You got a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and long. So I feel like on this play right here, the quarterback should have seen enough of these blitzes, especially on these gotta-have-it situations, to understand exactly what they were doing. So I looked at him, and before he threw the ball, he kind of made a read. He kind of went from, I think it was left to right. He looked over at the guy he ended up throwing the ball to right here, which was Keyshawn Malcolm. And then he kind of looked over to the right-hand side, on the right-hand side of the field, too. So if you look at the line of scrimmage, once again, you got your 4 down linemen, and then you got your 2 linebackers. So you got all of those guys on the line of scrimmage. So more times than not, they're going to be coming. They're going to be running another all-out blitz like they've done to make him get the ball out of his hands very quickly. So I think that he did a very good job at kind of knowing exactly who he wanted to go with on this pass right here. And Keyshawn Malcolm actually, ran a pretty good route from the release standpoint, just being able to out-leverage the defender. And he just does a good job at being able to get that thing off with the defense kind of bearing down on him. You see he kind of drifted to the back a tad bit, which probably kind of led to the throw being a little low. But Keyshawn Malcolm did a phenomenal job at just being able to adjust to it and being able to come up with that catch to move the sticks. All right, so once again, Ruston has made it to the red zone. So if you're familiar with my videos, man, I always talk about gotta have it. And if you listen in this video, I've talked about gotta have it. And gotta have it situations are normally a 3rd down and 4th down situations. But when you get into the red zone, in my opinion, I think that every down, whether it's 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, or 4th down, is a gotta have it. When you get down there, man, you want to be able to put points up. So right here, you got a double gotta have it situation. You got a 3rd and 3rd and 7, a 3rd and long, and you in the red zone. So what they do is obviously you're going to go to your your gotta have it guys. So for Ruston, the gotta have it guys are gonna be Dalen Powell and Ahmad Hudson, right? But with Ahmad Hudson being out, that it's kind of gonna be a little bit more emphasized on Dalen Powell. And I know that he played receiver too, so that's why I do like the versatility and how Ruston kind of utilizes him as a receiver from time to time. You've seen it in the Acadiana game, and you've seen it right here. So they end up getting a one-on-one matchup. Obviously, when you get in the red zone, a lot of teams are probably going to run more man-to-man just because the field becomes so much more compressed, and you don't really have to deal with the threat of being beat over the top like you do if you're kind of operating from a full field standpoint. So they end up getting a one-on-one matchup on the outside. So once again, too, I want to talk about, Hartwell on this play right here. You see Stephenville pretty much sends an all-out blitz once again. He has a free runner coming straight up the middle. It looks like he's coming straight through the A gap on him. So that's a straight path to him. So he does a good job at being able to hang in there and get that ball off. Now, Dalen Powell did a phenomenal job, man, being able to go up and high point this, man. This is a very acrobatic catch that he almost came down with. But we also got to give credit to Stephenville's defense, man, for one, just being able to get the pressure that they were getting on Hartwell consistently all night long. And then just this play right here being matched up on the outside, just seeing how he was able to get his eyes on the quarterback, being that he's playing off coverage. He remained square up until the receiver threatened his cushion. And then that's when he opened up his hips. But if you look at him, his eyes remained on the quarterback the whole time. So he was able to get his head back around, track that ball in the air, and just be able to kind of go up with Dalen Powell and just, knock the ball out of his hands at the last minute for incompletion. So you seen on the previous play, Stephenville ended up coming up with a pass breakup to take away another touchdown opportunity for Ruston. But they were able to capitalize this time on their red zone trip, being able to kick a field goal and being able to put 3 points up on the board to make it 14-3 with 1 minute left in the third quarter. So right here you have Stephenville there, and they got to have a situation of 3rd and 8. So Ruston did a phenomenal job on the 1st and 2nd down, just being able to, stuff those runs for minimal gains to keep those in those long yardage situations. And like I say, man, that's the whole key to being good defensively. Is just being able to dictate to an offense what it is that you want them to do. So if you take away the option of them running the ball on 1st and 2nd down, and even if you play good pass defense on 1st and 2nd down, if they were throwing the ball, it puts them in situations where they have to kind of be one-dimensional. So in a 3rd and 8, I got to have a situation more times than not, knowing the down and distance, that ball has to travel over 8 yards in order for them to move the sticks. Because if you're looking at the position where they're at field position wise, I highly doubt that they're going to go for it, just because if they don't get it, you will be putting the opposing team already in field goal range. So right here, Ruston just does a good job at being able to stop them on this play. You see number 1, Trendon Moore, he gets physical with the slot guy right here and kind of throws him off the route. You see that's kind of where the quarterback was running at. And then even once he gets past Trendon Moore, his eyes are still downfield. I'm talking about the receiver. So that takes away that option. So you took away the number 1 option. The pocket started collapsing. You see that Ruston kind of ran like a little stunt loop with number 98, where he showed as if he was going to hit the A gap, and he kind of bounced that thing around, kind of trying to get to the B gap. But I do like how, once again, they got a spy, which was number 4 on the quarterback, and he just pretty much mirrors the quarterback. Wherever the quarterback go, that's where he go. And like you said, man, he's not a quarterback that necessarily just wants to run at the drop of a dime. But if all else fails and that first read isn't there, especially in the guy to have a situation of 3rd down, more times than not, he's going to try to be able to pick it up with his feet. So Ruston just does a good job at being able to win on all 3 downs, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. Now, this is what I love to see right here, man. Like I said, man, I think that finding different ways to get Josiah Morgan the ball or get him involved into the game, I think that can open up a lot. And they do exactly that right here. You see Ruston is lined up in the shotgun formation, and they're kind of lined up in a unique formation. I think this might have been the first time I've seen them lined up in that, where you have Lander lined up on one side and you have Dalen Powell lined up on one side, like kind of how the tight end would be. Well, Dalen's more so lined up like in the slot, but Lander's lined up kind of how the tight end would be lined up in a pistol formation. But it looks like they kind of just ran 4 verts down the field. It looks like Stephenville might have possibly been in a cover 4. If I'm looking at it, like they might have been in a cover 4, and they just pretty much just ran 4 verts. I think they kind of tried to throw him for a loop with releasing Dalen Powell out the slot on the wheel route, and they kind of really did do that too, because the guy that was initially on Josiah Morgan, he kind of ran over to take Powell, which allowed for Josiah Morgan to be able to slip back behind on defense. So you see right there, he ran to take Powell, and it just allowed Josiah Morgan to get behind the defense. And once again, the offensive line, did a good job at being able to hold up and allow Hartwell to be able to get the ball down the field to Josiah Morgan for an explosive. And this probably was their most explosive play of the game on an explosive catch and run downfield to put them in the red zone once again. All right, so right here on this play, man, you got another got to have a situation. So this was a third down play, but obviously, like I always say, man, when you get in the red zone, every play in the red zone is a got to have it no matter what the down and the distance is. Whenever you get down there, man, you want to be able to put points up on the board. So right here, they try to just run a pretty much a design QB run where they just run the quarterback. Now, one of the benefits of doing a design QB run, so if you think about on a typical run play, you have potentially, what is it, 9? You have 11 guys on the field, so you have 9 eligible blockers, right? No, so that should be, yes, if you have 11 guys on the field, the quarterback is discounted from 1 because he's going to hand the ball off and get out the way. And then the running back or the ball carrier is discounted for 1 because he's going to be the one carrying the ball. So now you have everybody else that's out there to block for you, right? But when you run design QB runs, now you get an extra blocker because now the quarterback who normally hands the ball off and gets out the way, he's the one with the ball in his hands. So now you got 10 blockers out in front of you. So it creates that extra blocker. But the only thing is when you're in the red zone, it's almost like you're playing against a stacked box because it becomes so much condensed and so much more compressed and tight now. So technically, even if you got guys that's not necessarily in a tackle box, if they come downhill aggressively, just like Stephenville does, then it's going to be kind of hard to have some success with that. And like I say, man, looking at Stephenville's defense, I call this defense pack hunters, right? They hunt in packs. They don't leave tackling to one person's responsibility. They make it a team objective to be able to tackle, and they're very disciplined too in their in their run fits, meaning that you got this guy who's going to be the force defender, and every single play, that's his objective. My objective is to stay outside, force it back into my help, and my job and everybody else's job is we need 11 hands to the ball. So when you have a team like them that attacks very good horizontally, then it is very hard to try to get the ball, to run the ball like that against them. I think that with a team like Stephenville, even though Ruston didn't have a whole lot of success with it, the best thing would be trying to run directly at them opposed to running away from them. But they were able to get a stop on this gotta have it situation. All right, so Ruston was able to get down to the red zone. They were able to put points up on the board. Obviously, you know, you much would have much more preferred to been able to put up to score touchdowns when you got down here, because if they would have been able to score touchdowns, you're looking at a tied ball game, 14-14 potentially. But you know, they had to kind of settle for field goals both times that they got down there. So now you're looking at a 14-6 game with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So the very next play, they end up kicking a field goal, end up making the score 14-6, and they come out and they do a punch kick right here. And one of their areas of improvement was exposed on this play right here. Because at first I was kind of saying that they did a pretty good job. Because like where I was coming at with it, I was like, okay, the defense has been playing good the second half, you know, for the most part. You know, they hadn't given up any points, and you know they were making Stephenville punt the ball. So I was like, why not trust in the defense and, you know, put it down the field and make them have to work the length of the field, opposed to, you know, pretty much putting them in red zone position if they able to field this kick and get upfield just like how they did right here. But they only kicked the ball off 2 times because, you know, they only scored twice so far, which was both of those field goals. So the first time the kick coverage was good. The second time, obviously, doing this punch kick, you kind of put them in a bad predicament. The Stephenville guy was able to just catch the ball and just, man, really just get upfield and just kind of run through guys. And another aspect of area of improvement where I was saying is the tackling. And I think that really gets exposed on kick return. Obviously, you've seen that Ruston has given up a lot of explosive plays throughout the first half of the season on kick return, and even giving up a touchdown. And a lot of it, more times than not, ended up being a result of bad tackling. And right here, you just kind of, you know, put them in a bad predicament. Now Stephenville is already in field goal range. So even if they are able to get a stop, now you're looking at a 17-6 score and making it a 2-possession game. Whereas if you were able to just kick it downfield, trusting the defense come out, get a stop, now you're looking at opportunity to be able to score and go for 2 and be looking at possibly taking the lead by 1 point. So, man, a lot of times in a game of football, everything is all about momentum swings, right? And you know what happened, what swings the momentum? A lot of times, big plays, explosive plays, just like how they had on the kick return previously. So the very next play after that kick return, this is what you get. So exactly what I was talking about early on in the first half on a lot of those runs that they gave up. What was the key denominator in that? Not being able to set the edge, not being able to have that force guy. So when I talk about Stephenville early on, and I was talking about how they're pack hunters and how they're disciplined defensive wise, how every single run play you had a force guy that was on the outside setting the edge trying to force everything back inside. Right here, you look at the picture in the middle, there was really no holes. Everything was clogged up. So the only other option he had was outside, but there was no outside containment. And at that point, it's just green grass. So like I said, man, that's just one of those things that you have to be able to set the edge. You have to be outside containment. And I know that playing against the RPO makes it that much harder because typically your corners will be outside containment to force the runs back inside. But on RPOs, your corners have to play the pass, because if they don't, then if a quarterback is aware of that, now you're looking at giving up something explosive downfield because you're so set on trying to set the edge on a run that you're not, thinking about your responsibility in the pass. But once again, man, they just give up another explosive 20. I think it was a 25-yard touchdown run, and that's going to make this game 20-6 until they kick a field goal, the after point, which is going to make it 21-6, and now it makes it that much harder of a comeback for Ruston. All right, so right here, trailing 21-6, you got another guy to have a situation. And they're in a 3rd and long, and obviously, man, this was one. I think this was probably one of the first games that Ruston actually was trailing. When you look at the game against Acadiana, when you look at the game against Cabot, when you look at the game against who else after was it Longview, and when you look at the game against Midland, for the most part, they kind of were out front in those games, so they were able to kind of stick to what they like to do offensively. But if you look in this game this game right here, they found themselves down 14-0 at some point, and now you even finding yourself down 21-6, and time isn't on your side. So now you got to kind of deviate away from the game plan, which would typically be them kind of being a little bit more smash mouth, being downhill, running the ball. Now you're kind of having to find yourself in much more shotgun situations and pass situations. And right here, you find yourself in a 3rd and long, and they try to run a screen pass. And once again, man, like I say, man, Stephenville does a good job at remaining disciplined. You look at the linebacker, he saw that coming a mile away. He was able to beat the offensive lineman to the spot and was able to get a tackle on Dalen Powell to minimize and take away from any yards gained on that play. So right here, man, now this was just a good play from the quarterback standpoint with the ball placement, and then even with the receiver from being able to track the ball and go up and high point it. Now, the corner played this as well as you can play it. He did a good job at maintaining the squared stance up until the DB ate up the cushion. He maintained the square stance. He got his hands on him at the line of scrimmage, kind of, slowed him down a little bit. But I think he was kind of trying to portray that he was going to be blocking. I'm talking about the receiver. That's probably why he kind of hesitated. But the corners just did a good job at just being patient on this. But this is one of those things that, like they always say, you can't defend a perfect pass. And this was just a good throw, and this was just a good catch from the receiver and from the quarterback standpoint. And I like how they ran it too, because if you look at it, it's on the field side opposed to the boundary side. So let's just say if Ruston was running a cover 1, because it looked like they might have possibly been running a robber where they drop number 0 down and try to take across any crossing routes potentially, and you keep your single high safety over the top of everything. But if you're looking at it from where he's at, the distance from the boundary from the boundary to the field side, he wouldn't be able to get over there in time to be able to give help on this play right here. So it just was a good timing play call by Stephenville. So right here, everything in football is repetitive, right? Offensive, defensive, everything is repetitive for the most part. What you see in the game, you're going to see multiple times throughout the game. The thing is, can you identify what it is you're seeing, and can you make the adjustments based off of that? So like I said, one of the adjustments that Ruston made to be able to get pressure on the quarterback opposed to just rushing forward was they started sending blitzers, right? And they was blitzing from the outside. They would blitz number 1, the safety from the edge, and then they would blitz number 22, the linebacker from the edge. So obviously you look at the quarterback, once he sees that the safety's kind of cheating in, and you kind of see that he's declaring himself as a blitzer in a sense, one way to attack the blitz? Throw the ball wherever they blitzing from, and that's exactly what they do right here. So he comes off the edge on the blitz. They just run a simple out route. He gets the ball to the receiver, and the receiver just does the rest with being able to make a move in space. You see that he had a one-on-one matchup with Jay Nandy, and he kind of just put a move on him and, was able to make him miss and was able to eat up some additional yards after the catch, putting them closer to the end zone to be able to punch it in. All right, so you got Stephenville lined up. This is a gotta have it situation. Like I always say, man, when you get to the red zone, every down is a gotta have it down, whether it's first down, second down, third down, or fourth down. This is 4th and 1, and in a sense, they really don't have much to lose because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if they didn't get it, then Ruston would have had to try to march down the field 99 yards to be able to put some type of points up on the board, if a touchdown, from end zone to end zone. So they end up going for it, and obviously they end up just powering it in, making the score 28-6. So you see that the game is pretty much over with right here. They end up getting down to the red zone. Hartwell ended up throwing a touchdown to Dalen Powell to make the score 28-13. What I will say, man, one of the things that I do like about this game is the fact that they didn't give up. They didn't quit. They fell down behind early. Obviously, that's not familiar territory for them this year because they're so used to being the aggressors. And obviously, when you're playing up 14-0, it's a lot different whenever you're playing from behind. And obviously, a lot of what Ruston does is ball control, with being able to run the ball, being able to pound the ball, and being able to wear down defenses. And obviously, once you find yourself down early, you kind of got to deviate from the game plan. And then it kind of makes you a little bit more predictable because now it's like, okay, we don't really have to. We can sell out to the pass because we know that for the most part, y'all aren't having a lot of success with running the ball. And on top of that, y'all are down on the scoreboard. So we feel that more times than not, y'all are going to have to resort into throwing the ball. And that's what they were doing most of the time. So if you look at it, most of the time they were only just rushing 4 guys. And occasionally they would throw blitzes in there, just like on this play right here. But especially early on in the game, they were only just rushing 4 guys. So you think about it, if you're rushing 4 and dropping everybody else back in pass coverage, it makes it that much harder for you to be able to get anything going in terms of the passing game, just because they're much more equipped for the pass defense. But like I said, man, overall, man, I do like the fight that they had. And I mean, it was times where they had opportunity to, possibly win this game. I mean, you look at it, they were down 14-6. That's the closest that the score was. You end up doing the pooch kick. They end up getting in good field position. Very next play, they end up punching into the end zone. And that kind of was the dagger in terms of the game. But up until that point, they had opportunities there. They just didn't capitalize on it. And like I say, playing from behind is much more different than playing from ahead in terms of what you have play calling wise, because you move with a sense of urgency, like, okay, because time is working against you in a sense. So I will say that I like the creativity I seen with offense. I mean, like I say, man, you probably can count on one hand how many times that they were actually in the I formation. Everything else was shotgun based and spread it out. And even whenever they did go into the I formation, they still had to spread it out. So I do like that in terms of the adjustments. Just like I was saying with the defense was struggling to be able to get pressure up front with just rushing 4 consistently. So they adapted and started sending blitzes off the edge, sending 1 blitzer, sending 2 blitzers, sending them from the edge, sending them from the exterior, just putting more pressure on their quarterback and making them having to think a little bit, okay, where's the blitz and things come from? So it was some things to like about it. And I think that the overall thing is one of the things that you kind of overlook too is the fact that Stephenville is a darn good football team. I'm not going to even lie, to an extent, I kind of overlooked them. I was thinking that if Ruston beat Longview, it should have been a shoe-in with them playing Stephenville, but I didn't realize how good of a team that they were. And like I say, the main thing that stood out to me for them was really defense, man. The guys are phenomenal on defense. It's like they all play on one accord. Everybody is thinking the same thing. Everybody is moving together, and you can tell that they have a good trust within each other, that everybody's going to do their job, so they don't have to be thinking about, okay, what if I do this or what if this don't do? Everybody trusts and believe in the person on the side of them. And then when you can get that type of trust and believe within the players, you get magnificent results on the field. So kudos to Stephenville, man. They played a good game offensively, defensively, and special team wise. And like you say, the game is 3 phases. So if you can dominate on all 3 phases more times than not, your chances of winning the football game increases. So, but if you guys did enjoy this video, man, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you click that notification bell. That way you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.